Mummy, who's your favorite baddie in Doctor Who?
Sadly, because you've got a gas mask on, I'm struggling to hear what you're saying.
Who's your favorite baddie in all of Doctor Who? Like, who's your favorite villain or bad character?
Favourite villain? You know, I've got to the point when I answer these questions, when I make it up, I give you a different answer each time, because I get bored hearing myself say the same thing. So this time I'm going to say Davros, because without Davros there wouldn't be any Daleks, and let's face it, the Daleks are what makes Doctor Who the most scary. And I'm very fond of Terry Malloy, who plays Davros, and I've done some Big Finish audios with him as Davros. And I think Davros is the closest to what Sherlock Holmes would say about Moriarty. Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty, the Doctor and Davros. Used to be the Master, but the Master's become insane now, so that's pointless. So I like the idea of the Doctor competing with Davros, who can be very persuasive. I think villains work better when a lot of people don't see them as villainous. It's easy to see Cybermen and Daleks as villainous. But I can imagine Davros, as he did in one of the audio stories I did, convincing the world that he's doing something for their own good, to help, and getting the Doctor to help him, even though the Doctor knows there's something fishy going on. And I quite like that duplicity in a villain, rather than rank out-and-out villainy.
I used to say the Master as well, because it was that Holmes-Moriarty effect. But like Colin, I like to sort of change, because I'm always thinking about it and stimulated by your questions. On behalf of Peri, I have a personal favourite monster, which of course is Syl. Because I loved the fact that Syl was invented and came to life during our era, and I think he was played beautifully by Nabil. And of course, in a way, I see him as personally responsible for Peri's demise. But also, I particularly love in the new series, The Silence, because I can't think of anything more terrifying than knowing you might have just forgotten. I'm certainly reaching the age where I'm forgetting some things. And the idea that something terrible could happen and you don't remember what's just happened and your whole life could be changed and you don't remember is a rather horrifying thought. So at the moment, that's my answer. Okay, gentleman there. You've got his hand up first.
What's the oddest encounter that you've ever had with fans of Doctor Who that you've met in your different conventions? I don't think it's me,
yeah,
but I'm sure you've had some pretty
odd ones. I've never been asked that question before, and that's really odd. So.
Oddest. Well, I don't know, being asked for an autograph in a urinal. I've had that one. And having to point out that I didn't have a hand free. That was certainly one. Another one was in a hotel in America when I opened my door in the morning and found what looked like a soldier lying across the front of my doorway, which meant I had to step over her and with a gun there. And I said, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" And she said, "I'm guarding you, sir." She was dressed as a member of UNIT. As Sergeant Benton, as I recall, and I said, "Well, you can't guard me with a pretend gun, can you?" It was a real one. She was a member of the National Guard, who was a Doctor Who fan, and she brought her real gun to stand outside my hotel room to guard me from people like her. So I indicated as politely as possible that I'd feel a lot safer if she went and guarded somebody else, and survived that one. But that is carrying duty a little too far.
I remember my first convention in Chicago, and I had started filming, but I hadn't actually been seen. I was having to pretend to be American and single when I was English and married. And I came out of the lift in the hotel, and the only way to get to the very bottom floor was using an escalator. And as I got on the escalator, a man fainted at the bottom. And apparently he was overcome by the joy of seeing me, even though I haven't been in the series. And I had, like Colin, they did give us bodyguards, and I had a bodyguard with me. And all I had was this sense of impending doom, because I had a skirt on about that long, and I knew I was going to have to step over him at the bottom of the escalator, and I thought, I bet that's just the moment he wakes up. Whereas actually my rather hunky bodyguard charged down in front of me and removed the body, and I didn't have that moment. And at the same convention, I had a two-story sort of apartment in the hotel, so you could go out of one door and then you went sort of down a spiral staircase, which is where your bedroom was, and then you had a little sort of kitchen lounge thing, and you could go out of that door. And I went to go out of the door that was the kitchen lounge one, where I had in fact put a tray for room service outside my door. And I opened the door, and it was a big curved wall. And on the wall was written, "I want you, Peri," in what I thought was blood.
Sorry.
You were there, Ellie. And of course it turned out to be from my ketchup bottle, from my room service tray. But for the first moment, as I shut the door very quickly after reading that, I did for a brief moment believe that that was blood. So that was my first very strange convention. And I'm trying to think of anything else. But I think those were probably two of the oddest little moments right at the beginning when I was still coming to terms with the whole idea.
What's your favourite episode you've done and why?
That's another one of those very tricky questions, because the minute I decide what my favourite episode is, I want to go and change my mind. I realise that's quite inherent in my personality, because whatever I order from the menu, I wish I'd ordered something else. So, I have fondness for certain episodes and stories, and I think that's probably as near as I can go. I very much enjoyed the whole of Trial, because I really enjoyed the Peri story and the arc for Trial. I loved Vengeance on Barrows. I have a particular fondness for Caves of Androzani for obvious reasons. I loved the filming of The Two Doctors. I loved working with the Daleks. You can see my problem here, can't you? And I enjoyed very much doing the Cybermen. But it was very weird that at some point in the story I went off and changed my clothes. That was an odd, very odd thing. But I can't nail it to one episode, because the minute I do that, somebody else will come along, like yourself, and say, but my favourite story is this, and you'll list all the reasons why, and I'll go, you're absolutely right. So obviously I'm one of those people who can very easily change their mind.
What? Oh, favourite episode? Two Doctors, because working with dear, wonderful Patrick Troughton, who I had known for many years because I shared a flat with his son David, and was David's best man when he got married. But I'd never really met Pat, spent much time with, and he was an actor that I had admired enormously. He did the difficult job. That first regeneration could have ended the programme if it hadn't been in the right hands, and because Patrick was such a wonderful, different, clever and delightful actor, Doctor Who endured beyond its 3 years, which might have been the end of it. and he's still with us now, and it's mainly because of him. So to work with him, we went to Spain, the only foreign location we ever had when we were doing Doctor Who. Now they go to America, they go all over the place. They have fun. But we had a couple of weeks in Seville with Patrick and the rest of the cast, and it was just a joy to do. So, and it was a Robert Holmes story, and Robert Holmes is one of the great all-time writers of Doctor Who, so that was probably my favourite story.